you. Thanks, Kevin. Thank you. You look at the little clip here and what sort of comes to mind and what words come to mind. It's really the things that I want to talk about today, and it's perseverance, it's dedication, and it's determination. And really, you've got to have those things to compete in a sport like triathlon, because it doesn't come naturally. And people look at me sometimes and they say, why do you do this? And I do it because it is a passion. I love the sport of triathlon. It's a lot of hard work, but for me, it's become a lifestyle. It's something that I truly enjoy doing. But I'll take you back a little bit first and talk a little bit about my story before I get into my most recent venture, which I guess is the last 10 years, is triathlon. But when we talk about perseverance and dedication, determination, whether it's dealing with sport or whether it's dealing with something here, this rehab center that I've just spent an hour walking through, seeing the wonderful things that are going on, you have to have those same qualities. You have to have that perseverance to get you through, the determination, and dedicated to doing your exercises, your physio, your OT, that everybody's doing out there in the rooms. When I was 12 years old, I enjoyed sport back then as well. My main sports were hockey and lacrosse that I took part in. But I developed a pain in my leg, and we thought it was a sports injury. I'd banged it playing lacrosse, had some tests, everything looked fine, and just had some therapy. It wasn't getting better, had some more tests, and a couple months later, they told me I had cancer. I was 12 years old. Back when I was 12, I thought cancer came from smoking. It made no sense to me. But they told me I was going to have chemotherapy, which I had for 2 years. I was going to have radiation, which I had. And I got rid of the cancer. And at that time, I didn't believe anything different, that I couldn't beat cancer. I was 12. I listened to the doctors. Fortunately, I didn't know what the odds were back then because they weren't very good back with Ewing sarcoma. It was bone cancer, just right at the top of my tibia. Fortunately, with Ewing sarcoma, 3 out of 4 survive now. Back then, 3 out of 4 didn't make it. So I was one of the lucky ones. I beat it then. But then when I was 18, pain developed again. I got back into sports. I said I enjoyed sports. But when I was 18, the pain developed. I was playing actually a bit of baseball at this time. And we had some more tests. They looked, they saw, and eventually they told me I've got cancer again. And they said that they're going to have to remove part of the bone in my leg and my body. I was into science and thought, no, there's some interesting ways they should be able to do that. And they can today. Technology has come along with what they're able to do with artificial joints and what have you now. But back then, 29 years ago, what the doctor was telling me, they were going to amputate my leg. I was 18. Okay, that's not a nice thing to hear, but Terry Fox, a year earlier, had run halfway across Canada. Okay, they amputate my leg, will you get rid of my cancer? There's a good chance. Yep, we should be able to do that. Okay, let's get rid of the illness, let's get rid of the cancer, give me my prosthesis, I want to start running, I want to start doing things again. Terry Fox had done it, what's going to stop me? So I took that attitude, the positive attitude, and said, let's move things along. I wanted to get the surgery happening, and it did. I found out 2 days later, we knew what was going to happen. I got the call, okay, we booked the surgery, we're going to get in. I remember when I was in the hospital, and they're wheeling me down to remove my leg, and I just looked at my family and friends in the hallway there, and I just gave them the thumbs up, because I knew I was going to be okay. I knew that we were going to get rid of the cancer, and I was going to get a prosthesis and start doing these things. And that's what happened. So I started doing the things that I enjoy again. I got my prosthesis. The first thing I started to do was take up a brand new sport I hadn't done before, downhill skiing. I'd always wanted to downhill ski. But when I was 12, I mentioned I had radiation treatments. Well, the radiation treatments made the bone in my leg brittle. My orthopedic surgeon said, don't downhill ski. If you ever break your leg, it just won't heal properly. Once I lost my leg, that was no longer a concern. So I took up a new sport, downhill skiing. I skied out of Shidok in Hamilton. There's a little ski club they had there. It was the Hamilton Association of Disabled Skiers. and actually started racing. After skiing for a year, I headed out west to the Canadian International Disabled Ski Meet in Sunshine Village in Banff and raced there. There was racers there from all over the world, and my best finish there was a 9th place in the downhill slalom and skiing the same courses that the Crazy Canucks were skiing out there. So again, it's an obstacle. I couldn't downhill ski once that challenge didn't have to worry about breaking the leg anymore. I thought, you know, we're going to go out and do that. You make the best of the situations. Life isn't always rosy as we know it. Sometimes there's challenges. Unfortunately, sometimes there's more challenges than we want to have in life, but you make the best of the situation. You go out and make things work. I had wanted to learn how to ride my bike again, and of course, losing my leg, I had to learn how to walk again. As some of you folks, I saw you doing that between the parallel bars today, and that's where I was almost 30 years ago. I remember getting my first artificial leg and looking down and seeing 2 feet again. And just seeing 2 feet again is a good feeling. You think it's there, it feels like it's there, it still feels. You still feel your leg, right? It still tingles down there where your foot should be. You still feel it? I feel it too, it's there. But it's nice to look down and see that second foot. And you get that second foot, and I started to walk with crutches, just going through the motions, then get to the point where I can use 2 canes. And it was when I was at the point, it was in October when I was using 2 canes. I'd had my leg for about a month, and I walked across the stage graduating from grade 13, and the graduating class got up and gave me a standing ovation as I walked across the stage with 2 canes and an artificial leg. And then eventually you get to that point where you get to 1 cane and then take that first step all over again. And life's come full circle and you're starting to walk again. But walking for me wasn't good enough because I wanted to do more, and I wanted to go on and run and do these sorts of things. And to get up to this point of doing triathlons, as I mentioned, I had to learn to walk again, but I had to learn to bike and do all these things again. And back when I was going through my rehab and I was learning how to walk, one of the things I was doing for therapy, I was on an exercise bike. And I thought, well, if I can ride an exercise bike, why can't I ride my 10-speed that was out in the garage? So while my parents, they were out and about, my dad was at the hardware store, I forget where my mom and sister were, I thought, I think I'm going to give this a try. So I got my canes and walked out to the shed and grabbed my bike and propped it up against the side of the house, propped myself on the bike and put my feet on the pedals, pushed off the house and started pedaling, and it worked. So I started cycling again before I could even walk again. But I remember my dad coming back from the hardware store, and he sees this kid out on a bike and looks, and oh, looks like Grant. Oh, it can't be Grant, he just lost his leg. And he still kids me sometimes this day. Sometimes someone's going to have to tell that kid he lost his leg, but you know. But it's going and it's persevering and making things work and adapting. And I remember, I've got a number of legs, and I'll show you a few of them in a minute. One of the legs I had, and I don't have it here, is a swimming leg. It's all made out of plastic so that it could go in the water. And my family has a cottage up near Perry Sound, and we go up there quite a bit. And I was canoeing, and there's a little river we go down in a few rapids. And I remember stepping out of the canoe once to portage down the rapids, and I heard this crack. And then I look down and I see this foot floating downstream. What am I going to do? Well, I picked up my foot, went back in the canoe, paddled back to the cottage, and put on another leg, basically. And the leg that I put on, it's a very crude leg, not anything for triathlon, but it's my peg leg. It comes in handy at Halloween, of course. I can be a real good pirate. But it's just basic, and this is the leg I use when I downhill ski, because I just wear the socket when I downhill ski. This extra leverage, it could really mess up my hip if I fell, and I do fall once in a while, not too often, but I tend to be a little aggressive in skiing, not that you could imagine, being the sports I'm in. But anyways, I use this when I'm skiing, but then when I'm done skiing, I just screw the peg back in. I leave the peg at the bottom of the lift, and screw it back in, and then I can carry my skis and what have you back to the car. So it's just a functional leg, but it works out well for kayaking and canoeing as an extra leg too, because there's no knee joints, and the piece of pipe I can buy at Home Depot if I need, and it's a lot cheaper buying there. So, but I do have some other legs here, and my running leg, you saw me running a number of years ago, but the leg that I'm using now to run with is one of the sprinter feet, the flex feet. So it has all the spring action. I don't use a knee when I run. Instead, what I do is I just circumduct, so I just whip my leg around. But I've gone from running about 7.5-minute Ks, the old Terry Fox hop skip, down to last year at Worlds, I got it down to a 6:15 per K, so 31.5 minutes thereabouts for a 5K, running with the flex foot there. So my goal is to get down to a sub-6. Whether it'll happen this year in Beijing, I don't know, but I'll leave nothing out on the course, so I'll give it all. So hopefully I hit another PB. It was a personal best last year, so it's kind of cool for me. Even though I am getting older, I'm getting faster, and you've got to love technology to allow you to do that. So so this is my running leg, and I haven't run on it today. I did run yesterday. I did a little 5K training run yesterday. Yesterday I did a 5K run, a 20K bike, and then I did 2K at the pool at the end of the day yesterday. And that way, in between there, I had a little dryland workout session. My son plays rep hockey, and I'm one of the coaches there. So I ran that session with the kids. This is the leg I'm using for biking, which is similar to the one I have on. The knee unit, though, it's hydraulics, but the hydraulics are no longer any good in it, so it allows it to swing free. So I'm just basically using it as a free knee joint and just a simple foot here. This is brand new as of yesterday. These have been around for a few years, and I haven't switched. The socket design that I have, I was talking to my prosthetist friend here. I met again. It was 29 years ago we met the first time at Shidok. The socket that I'm using, basically the form that's here, a fellow cast back at Shidok years ago, and it's modifications from that I'm still using for my base socket. But the silicone sleeve here, what this allows me to do is I'll be able to have this silicone sleeve on my stump while I'm swimming under my wetsuit. And instead of having to wrap my stump and pull it into the socket, this is just a ratchet effect, and it'll just slide right on, and then I'll be able to jump on the bike. And it's probably going to save me, my transitions tend to be around 2 minutes 45 to 3 minutes. That's from getting into the transition area, getting my wetsuit off, putting my leg on, getting my bike, running with my bike out to the start line of the bike. So by able to have this part already on my stump and slide right in, this is what the competition. I looked to see last year at the World Championships where I ended up finishing 5th out of 9 last year of the top above knee amputees competing males. And I was top in the swim. I was up there not too bad in the bike and the run, but where I was behind was in the transitions. So once again, it's technology that's allowing you to go faster, so I can't be beat by technology. I'm not going to use that as an excuse. So I just rode for the first time on this yesterday. I rode again on it today, and it seems to be feeling good. I had to tweak it this morning, and all going well. This is the socket I plan to race in Beijing, and maybe get me back into medal contention. That's the goal. You're spending all the weeks out of the year training, and you're going to Beijing. You want to do the best you can. So hopefully this is a medalist leg. That's the plan. So hopefully it'll get us there. But I've had a lot of fun with the sport of triathlon. It's, like I say, it becomes a lifestyle, and it is a lot of training, as you saw in that initial clip of the Ironman there. I met a lot of good people training, and you meet friends doing that with similar interests in going out and becoming part of the triathlon family.